What is up, everybody? It's your boy Bobby from Bobby's Breakdowns, and today we are going to be reviewing and recapping, spoiler review, the new horror movie by Eli Roth called Thanksgiving. Now, Thanksgiving is supposed to be a nice time when you spend it with family, friends, you eat, you watch football, you do whatever it is you do. But this movie is not that. But yes, like I said, I will be spoiling it. It was a fine movie, but we will get into that. So with that being said, let's dive right in. So the movie begins with a Black Friday sale, but it is beginning on Thursday night. So technically it is Thanksgiving night because that's how all these big stores do it nowadays. Unfortunately, mayhem breaks out. It's a massacre. People are getting trampled. And I believe this is a real life story too at some point, because I believe there was one Black Friday where somebody got trampled to death. I'm pretty sure of it. But yes, people get in there all for these discounted waffle irons. That was the main part of the movie. But yes, trampled in, and that leads to 1 year later. Somehow nobody was charged in this ordeal because of course not. We wouldn't have a horror movie if it was that case. The whole incident was posted to online by one of the main characters named Evan. So yes, like I said, we go to 1 year later. We see in the Black Friday massacre, Patrick Dempsey's character, Officer Newland, his wife died. And we also see star pitcher Bobby, no last name, getting his hand stepped on and going the other way. Oof. And obviously Bobby left town and went MIA. Now Bobby was dating the main character named Jessica. She plays a pivotal part in this movie because she's the main character, of course. But they had some problems with a guy named Ryan. Ryan was trying to get with Jessica. And Jessica, we fast forward a little. Jessica is eating dinner or lunch with her friends at the local diner. The characters' names are Evan, Ulia, Scuba, and Gabby. Gabby is played by Addison Rae. And eventually new boyfriend Ryan joins because it's 1 year later. Bobby went MIA. And Jessica happens to look out and she sees a guy in a John Carver mask outside the window, but in a distance, just staring at her. Kind of like Michael Myers and Laurie Strode in Halloween. So I enjoyed that. It was a nice touch. So yeah, I'm not sure if they ever said how many people died in the Black Friday massacre. I know Sheriff Newland's wife died. Bobby had his hand, but he didn't die. I'm not sure if they ever said that, but so Jessica's dad is the one that runs the store, we find out. He doesn't want to close the store because that's how most of these businesses are. They just want to make money. But Jessica wants to close it, and her stepmom is a pivotal point in why they are keeping the store open, just because. So John Carver, the first governor of Plymouth, Massachusetts, not the actual guy, he starts his rampage and he goes after the waitress at the diner who was involved in the Black Friday massacre. You're going to sense a trend here because he goes after everyone that was involved. And he chases her. She gets away. She gets stabbed a little. But she eventually runs and tries to get into a dumpster. And then he drives the car into the dumpster and her body literally cuts in half. And it's not the first time this happens in the movie. Ooh, absolutely awful. So Sheriff Newland enlists the help of Jessica because they can't figure out who's doing it, to help them find out why John Carver is doing what he's doing and who it is. We'll get to that. But at some points in the movie, John Carver with his kills, he snaps a guy's neck completely around and his face is facing that way while he's doing something, and then a cheerleader is on a trampoline and he's stabbing through the trampoline and he gets her all right. Oof. Some of these kills, man, they were pretty cool. So the deaths of these students leads to the football game getting canceled, so they're hanging out around school. Eventually, Gabby and Evan go off on their own. So eventually, Jess gets a text saying, "Come here." So Jess goes. She hears the text beeping. The phone is just in like a custodian's garbage bin. And as she locks the phone, she sees the reflection of John Carver swinging an axe and she ducks. Cool scene. She fights him off a little. She hides in like a wig store, distracts him, and then she gets out. But they can't find him in the school for whatever reason. So we eventually learn to come that Evan and Gabby are kidnapped by Carver. So Jess, Scuba, and Julia make it a mission to get them back until Julia is taken by her father. Her father says, oh, we're going to Florida, we're done. If only they made it to Florida. So Scuba and Jess are on FaceTime with Julia, and eventually you just hear Julia screaming because Carver sticks the corn on the cob piece right through her ears. Ooh, that's cringy and brutal. Yeah, awful. But so they race to her home. He's got her held up. Scuba has a gun. And he shows the FaceTime of Evan and Gabby being held hostage at a table, which we'll get into. And he throws Julia, and Julia falls into a machine, and all her body just disintegrates. Yeah, like half her body is gone. Brutal. Scuba lost his girlfriend. So all 6 of them have been getting tagged on Instagram posts from John Carver with their names and all that, saying like they're coming to dinner, and you know, if you've seen the movie, you know what I mean. But oh my goodness, yeah. And then he posts more pictures with like the waitress there and all the other victims. Ugh. But next up, they devise a plan to get John Carver out. They're like, we're gonna work the parade. He can't do anything with all these witnesses. We see Jess, Thomas, and Gabby and Scuba. They're all in the parade. Everyone's in the parade. And their plan went terribly wrong because all of a sudden the mascot gets his head literally taken off by a clown. Everyone goes running. Eventually Jess, her father, and the stepmother, they run into the cop car. Carver kills the cop and then tranquilizes them. Then at first we see Kathleen, Jess' stepmother. She's being tied up and he's pouring stuff over her. It's the beginning of the torture, but eventually she gets away. And it leads to a decently timed chase scene. She's fighting. It's pretty good, but eventually John Carver catches her, throws her, and burns her alive. Yeah, she's not making it out of this one. So then we go to the dinner table, and this is the final act. We see Jess, Thomas, Gabby, and Evan, and Scuba tied up at the dinner table. John Carver is walking around saying, what are you guys thankful for? Now, at this point, the cops, they say, oh, we have a location on him. Let's get him. They get there. It's just a phone live streaming the live stream. And unfortunately, they aren't getting to him at this point. Now, Carver starts with Evan because he believes Evan is the one that posted the video. I don't think we ever found out who officially posted it, but yeah, he murders Evan, and that leads to the father throwing up and everyone's screaming. So eventually, of course, Jess breaks free, but she breaks Scuba out too. So Scuba was the distraction to fend off John Carver. I always want to say John Carter, the alien, but yeah, well, not even that. So Jess eventually escapes free. She runs through the woods, but Carver's chasing after her. Jess hops the fence, but her jacket gets caught, but she pulls away just before the axe swings. Pivotal part. But of course, as Jess falls off of the fence, her ankle rolls and, you know, she's got to fight off some pain. So she makes it out to town. She finds a cop car, but of course the cop is dead. She takes his gun. She goes to the warehouse and she sees Bobby taking off the mask. She's like, oh my goodness, it's Bobby. So Newland is like, oh, I'll get him. You hear a couple gunshots, but nothing comes about. So Newland takes Jess into like this office, and Jess is like, I'm not feeling well. She's like, yeah, we'll get you a doctor. And at one point it's going through her head, the quote he said earlier, Newland, it's always the little things that get the person caught. Jess looks down at Newland's pants and boots. There's the same debris from the woods on there that is on Jess's pants, and Jess puts it together. And Newland figures out that she put it together, and Newland said, if only you were stuck on that fence for 1 second more. It was Patrick Dempsey, Sheriff Newland. As I was watching this movie, I'm going through the list, and I'm like, maybe it's Bobby, maybe it's Ryan, maybe it's Dempsey, Newland. I'm like, maybe it's the father. But I was like, what pointed me in the direction of a Dempsey was the the parade scene when they all got tranquilized, he was nowhere to be found. Now, of course, Bobby and Ryan weren't either, but, you know. But yes, we find out why Newland is doing what he is doing. A year ago, like I said, he lost his wife. And little did we know, he lost his child too. The wife was pregnant, and it's like, oh. Hence why he snapped. They took his family, so he's taking theirs. But unfortunately, Newland had evidence of Bobby's phone, so Jess was like, I never told you what I was thankful for. Newland's like, okay, whatever, tell me. And she raises up the phone, she goes, the service in this building, and she's on Instagram Live, and she caught everything, and he's like, and he is furious. So, of course, that leads to the chase. Newland is after Jess. Bobby comes in to help. We all thought Bobby was a goner because we heard the gunshots, but Bobby's here to help. It's just the thing about those Bobbies. They tend to save the day and be the heroes. I'm just saying. No coincidence. But yes, that eventually leads to the chase. Eventually, somehow, one of the parade inflatables blows up, and Jess turns on the gas. So, Newland ran out of room. Bobby's driving the truck. Jess has the gun in the back seat, and Jess shoots the gas tank, exploding the inflatable and Newland in a pretty cool scene. But while they're being attended to, they say we didn't find a body of Newland, and nobody would survive that explosion. So the final scene of the movie, Jess is in bed with Ryan. She wakes up to a noise from like her closet. She investigates it. She turns, she looks, nothing. All of a sudden you see Sheriff Newland, Patrick Dempsey's hand go over her mouth, and he's on fire, and he brings her back. But then Jess wakes up. It was just a nightmare. Jess looks in the closet, nothing. Fade to black. Sequel? It's gotta be. If they didn't find his body, I've seen Halloween too many times for this not to be a sequel. They didn't find his body. If they would have closed it out with the body find if they didn't plan on making a sequel. But yes, that is my spoiler review to Thanksgiving. 7 out of 10. I enjoyed it. The acting was pretty bad at some points because these are up and coming actors, so it comes with the territory. But it was entertaining. It kept me guessing. It was fun. I enjoyed it. I would suggest seeing it. It's a good murder mystery. But yes, Thanksgiving 2023 was a fine movie. With that being said, make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe. I'm Bobby from Bobby's Breakdowns, and I will see you in the next one. Later!
Thanks for listening to Bobby's Breakdowns. Now go about your life, would you?